now it's time for And the Winner Is Motorsports Show, a production of the ETV Live Auto Sports Entertainment Network. Get ready for 2 fun-filled hours of racing dialogue, race results, commentary from drivers, promoters, sponsors, media dignitaries, and much, much more. And now, the racing devil, Mike Neff, and the ringmaster of motorsports, Wesley Outland. This is And the Winner Is Motorsports Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the January 28th edition of And the Winner Is Motorsports Show. It's talking. We don't know when we're live or whatever. Hey, but we are live. It is a Monday night. We do this every Monday, but tonight, for that matter, we will do it for 1 hour. That's right, for 1 hour, we will be on the program with the best talk from NASCAR to grassroots. And I'm joined by my esteemed panel, as always, back from the 2013 NASCAR Sprint Media Tour, the Racing Devil, Mike Neff. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. Great, I tell you. We're counting down 3 more days in January, and then it's going to be February, and that means racing is swinging into full speed.
Absolutely.
Pumped.
Also in our esteemed panel, former NASCAR crew chief in the Sportsman and the Cup Series, Marcus Morgan, fresh in from the state of South Carolina. Marcus, good to have you, buddy. The madman, Marcus Morgan. And joining us also is another guest that I want to give everybody a quick plug. If you're not doing anything on a Thursday night from 7:30 to 8:30 Eastern, you need to tune in on ETV Live, powered by the HD Radio Network, for the new Pit Report with Josh Gerlach and the guest we have on tonight, Kyle Carrasco. Kyle, good to have you on the show, my friend.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. Glad we're going to talk about the new Gen 6, my favorite sport, NASCAR, all my passion, and going to have some good conversations tonight for sure.
We're definitely got a lot to talk about. And first off, I've got to send, and I'm the one that's going to eat crow on this one, guys. I'll tell you what happened. Of course, I followed coverage from 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon, 51st edition of the winner of probably I had been a much off and at up, and in doing so, I understand they're saying we're having some. I'll tell you what, John, let's go to commercial break. We'll check this stuff out, and we'll come back, and I'll do my formal apology. On the YouTube, Bob and a whole lot more. We'll talk about NASCAR, the Gen 6 car, and the winner is. We have a little tech issue. We'll get it taken care of. We'll be back on the air in just a minute. Shortway Real Estate Incorporated, conveniently located off of intersection I-81 and I-77 in Whiteville, Virginia. Services all of Southwest Virginia in residential, farms, recreational, and commercial properties. The company is owned by Jason and Judy Short. Judy has been in the real estate market for over 15 years and is the broker of Shortway Real Estate. And they have 2 of the top agents in Southwest Virginia. Their goal is simple: to provide the best customer service and build business on repeat clients. You can get pre-approvals in less than 20 minutes. They have many properties located on over 300 websites nationwide. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for customer service guaranteed. And guess what? Licensed in Virginia, they can show you any property listed in the Commonwealth state. They're located at 1205 East Main Street in Whiteville, Virginia. For more details, call 276-223-4018. That's 276-223-4018. Shortway Real Estate Incorporated, reminding you, take the short way home.
ETV Live, always pushing the bar just a little bit further, is proud to introduce ETV Live Radio, supported by the HD Radio Network. ETV Live Radio features classic rock every hour, every day. You can also catch live events such as Race Day broadcast right from the booth, Open Paddock Live at 9:30 p.m. Tuesday nights, The Pit Report on Friday nights at 7 p.m. ETV Live Radio featured in the sports section of iTunes. Get the mobile app from TuneIn.com and look for us on Windows Media Guide. ETV Live Radio on the HD Radio Network.
Back to the show. It is AndTheWinnerIS show this Monday night. Kyle Terreski, you back in the study?
It's really hard to hear you, man. I'm having some technical difficulties on my side, I think.
We're all having side of things. So, John, I'll tell you what, let's take a short commercial break and come back and regroup and get our heads back in the right direction. Back. Sorry about the technical. We'll be back on the air here in just a second. Let's plug our commercials.
Should probably reset his computer, John.
Owens, Moyer, Burkoffer, Mars, and Davenport all get dirty with FK.
Jimmy Owens wins!
FK Rod Ends is a family-owned American manufacturing company supporting the racing world for 25 years, as their rod ends have helped some of the nation's best dirt late model drivers find victory lane too many times to count.
Lucas Oil late model national champion Billy Moyer.
Dedicated to quality, FK is your answer in the rod end game. So why wait? Get dirty with FK.
For more details, go online to www.fkrodians.com. FK Rodians sponsors all broadcasts on the Fast Track Radio Network.
Coming to ATV Live Super Speedway Cup Series brings some new and exciting racing entertainment on Friday night. In shootout-style, drivers compete in hot lap heat races to qualify for the feature event. Drivers run in 3 heat races, then on to the Dash for Cash 15-lap showdown, and then ramp it up as they move on to the B main and A main feature event. Word has it they give the flagmen the night off, so no cautions, cowboy. Buckle in and sit back and hold on tight. You're in for a night of fun racing entertainment once again, brought to you live by ETV Live, your online autosports entertainment network, etv-eplay.net.
The fever. Intense. NASCAR racing experience. The authentic racing experience. Packages start at just $329. Thrilling. Yeah. The rush. The NASCAR racing experience. Call 1-877-RACE-LAP today.
Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's stabilized.
All right, welcome back to the program. It is AndTheWinnerIS Motorsports Show, a broadcast of the ETV Live, powered by the HD Radio Network. Sorry for the technical issues that we are having tonight. Just one of those things, I guess, that
That's good.
That we are having. Sometimes things just act up the way they do. I don't know why. Mike Neff, buddy, I know you were talking about the NASCAR media tour, and what was your thoughts of the entire event?
It's a good time. I mean, I enjoy the chance that we get to run around and get a little one-on-one time, although it's usually a little more than one-on-one, but you get some good time talking to drivers, get their opinions. Everybody's always optimistic because the season hasn't started yet. Got a lot of opinions on the new race car, mostly for the positive. And, I mean, the thing it's kind of lost a little of its luster for me just because there's not a lot of announcements anymore. It always used to be that was when they had a lot of sponsor announcements and you got a lot of car unveilings and stuff like that. And we only had a couple of those this time around. Penske announced that Hertz is back, which is kind of cool, actually, because they were a long-time Penske sponsor back in the day. They were on the car when Al Unser Sr. won his 4th Indianapolis 500.
Right.
And they'll be back at Penske. Nationwide sponsorship, along with, I believe, 1 or 2 Cup races. And other than that, they announced that Kyle Busch is going to be running the 54 out of Joe Gibbs Racing Shops, which I had reported a couple months ago, and they finally confirmed that. So I was kind of proud of that little moment. But for the most part, it's more about getting a lot of free food and drinking more than I normally do, and just hanging out.
And again, our esteemed panel apologize. Technical issues. We got it fixed out on our end. Thank you so much to John Wesley and J.D. Webb, Phil Folks, for taking care of it. The Madman's in the house, Marcus Morgan. And Kyle Tarasca joining us on the program. Kyle, I believe we can hear each other very better now.
Yeah, it's much better. Now I feel like I'm a part of the show. I am happy to be here.
You're always part of the show. And by the way, I just want to tell everybody, if you're not doing anything on a Thursday night, Josh Gerlach and Kyle Tarasca have got a new show on ETV powered by the HD Radio Network entitled The Pit Report.
Yep, and you could follow us at ETV Pit Report on Twitter if you have an account. We're going to have some call-ins. You could tweet us your questions or opinions as we talk about it.
Absolutely.
And this week, I am proud to announce that we're going to have my good friend Scott Stenzel, who's going to be racing for MB Motorsports at Daytona this February in the truck race.
Oh,
and he'll be calling us live from the MB Motorsports shop. So should any type of questions you have regarding him with the trucks, Daytona, anything like that, tweet us and it'll be a good show.
Absolutely. Man, I'll tell you what a great show that we have lined up tonight. One of the things that I really want to hit on is, before we go any further, I have to make I need to make a formal apology. Okay? I need to make a formal apology to everybody that's tuned in on the show, because like I said, we had our tech issues. We're back on the air now. Over the weekend, if you've been watching since Saturday into the Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock hour, it was the 24 hours of Daytona. The Rolex 24 at Daytona. Juan Pablo Montoya was the winner of the event with the rest of his team from Chip Ganassi Racing. I had sent a Twitter message out to Juan Pablo Montoya requesting for him to be on the And the Winner Is Motorsports show for tonight. He retweeted back and said, yes, Marcus, you was here last night hanging out with me. We were watching the Royal Rumble. By the way, thank God The Rock is the new champion of WWE. I know it's all fake and sometimes things are mistakes. I'm so glad to see him punk. He's a punk. He's not the champion anymore. But anyhow, I don't want to get off subject. But anyhow, I think I've already done that, haven't I?
Sounds that way.
During the time, I received a commitment from Juan Pablo Montoya stating that he was going to be on the show tonight. In doing so, I had sent another recommitment asking, hey, man, are you still on for tonight? And I didn't hear anything from him this morning. Then about an hour later, I received a phone call from a 704 area code, which Mike Neff, you live in the neck of the woods, that's in the racing community. And it was from Chip Ganassi Racing, his PR director. And he simply stated that when Pablo was overbooked, he was committed for a more popular national radio show than And the Winner Is. Very upsetting. And for that reason, well, hey, he was committed to do an interview tonight with Performance Racing Network, which is in that society of publicized NASCAR communication broadcasting, where it's all staged, it's all preempted, what you're going to talk about, it's all scripted, it's not from the heart, and he said, Marcus Morgan, that he would rather commit to doing that than to being on a grassroots show like And the Winner.
All professional athletes have scheduling conflicts. That's all I can say.
Mike Neff, what's your take on it? So basically, Juan Pablo Montoya not on the show tonight. I'm very pissed off about it, but the show must go on.
Hey, when you have a couple 100,000 listeners, or you got a couple million listeners, you'll go with the couple million listeners.
Well,
that's the way you do it.
I think it's all in that that whole status of with the communications of NASCAR, it's all staged, it's all preempted. When you tune into a show with NASCAR, and I don't mean to say anything out of line, but it's all preempted, Kyle Taraska. They're told what they'll say. They're told what not to say. The MRN people are told what to ask, what not to ask. The PRN network. If you can't ask somebody from the heart, well, like you can on AndTheWinnerIS or even the Pit Report. You ask good questions on your show Thursday night. What's your thoughts on the whole Juan Pablo deal of him not being on?
I mean, it sucks for us, but at the same time, I understand with the other commitments. But yeah, it sucks that you can't talk from the heart, this, that, and everything, and ask him all these questions. But I mean, and that's one of the problems. I know we discussed this earlier in the week about the state of the sport, this, that, and everything, and that's the corporate end of the sport. The sponsors want them, to have this special image. Target wants Mr. Juan Pablo Montoya to have this special image to him, and it hurts us on the short end, but on the long end, I mean, if you're getting paid millions of dollars to do whatever someone wants you to do, I mean, I would be in the same boat. But it's very unfortunate, and I'm upset about it too. But yes, unfortunately, we can't do anything about it.
But I do have two questions though. How are you saying that PRN and MRN guys are told what to ask? I mean, I know most of those guys, and I have never once known them to have to follow a script.
No. They do have a script. What do you think a pre-production meeting is?
They give you ideas of what you're going to talk about, but they don't lay out question for question what you're allowed to ask.
Everything is preempted for what they're going to talk about, and maybe it's not a way of me wording that. And let me throw something else out there, by the way. Marcus, what was you saying, buddy? You hate politics?
Yeah, politics ruins this.
Well, I agree, but I'll also tell you that Juan Pablo Montoya is one of the least politically correct drivers out there.
You're right.
And if we're going to get one of the upper echelon drivers to come on this show, he and Brad Keselowski are probably the two that we have the best shot of having come on here.
You probably have a better shot with Brad Keselowski. I mean, look at all the stuff he did this year. And he's very outspoken when it comes to Miller Lite, letting him, as a sponsor, letting him be his own person. And that's why, which I mentioned on the Pit Report last week, that he's the future of this sport for current Cup drivers.
I agree. I thoroughly agree with that. 100%. So maybe what I meant to say was it's not preempted what they're told to say, but it's more they're sensitized, Mike Neff, of what they can say to drivers and what they cannot say. Because you don't want to make nobody mad.
Sensitive to their sponsors.
No, I'm not talking about, right. And I'm not talking about the sponsors. I'm not talking about Kurt Busch. I'm talking about the media. I'm talking about us as media people. We can ask the questions that MRN or PRN or any other motorsports network, ESPN, are afraid to ask. And by the way, Bill Foltz was very upset whenever he found out about this. And in the comment that was made by the PR guy saying that we were stacked. We're not big network. We have over 5,000 listeners a day on HD Radio Network. Okay, and we can back that up with the graphics and all of the Nielsen, what they call Nielsen TV ratings. Well, of course, you've got your radio ratings also to check this stuff. It's an international market. ETV is going to bigger and better things. We had a big meeting about it last night.
It still comes back to politics.
Exactly. So, I mean, but anyhow, final thoughts on this whole Juan Pablo deal. We got to change subject.
We'll get him back.
The show must go on.
We'll get him back.
He'll be on.
Yeah.
I will bet you money we'll get him on before the end of the year.
I'd like to talk to him.
We might interview him at Daytona.
So we are, because I've sent in for my NASCAR credentials for AndTheWinnerIS exclusively at ETV. And Kyle, you're going to be down there at Daytona, aren't you, buddy?
Hell yeah, I'm going to be in Daytona. And I don't want to keep referencing back to the Pit Report, but I am going to have a live report from Daytona tonight at the duels. But that's a whole other story. It's a whole other program. But yeah, I'm going to be down there from the duels till the 500, all 4 days down there for Speed Weeks.
Forgot about it. Well, thank you guys for taking. Go ahead, Kyle. Let me cut you off.
I say I'll be down there from the Friday before the whatever the hell it's called now up until the duels.
See, well, you're lucky. You don't have college classes to go to, unfortunately. I can't afford.
I have a real life job that I have to take vacation from in order to be able to go.
Yeah, well, you get.
No, Mike, because this time last year you didn't have a full time job.
That's right.
In a senseless, unemployed market, begging for work, and now you're so swamped with work you can't go and have fun at the racetrack anymore.
I don't know about that. we'll see how it plays out, but I'd be willing to bet I probably get to go to a few more races this year.
Let me tell
because we're going to have a little bit of expendable income.
Absolutely.
Anytime during the winter, for when you have any type of excuse just to go down to Daytona for speed weeks, if you live anywhere in the north or even like the Carolinas on north, it's a perfect excuse because you get out of the snowy weather to go into the 70s in the Florida sun.
I'm about ready to get the hell away from this cold weather. I'm about froze to death. We had snow and ice on the ground back on Friday. They're calling for now, in the next couple of days or two in the Tar Heel State, a chance of showers, thunderstorms, isolated tornadoes, because there's a warm front that's moving in here. It's supposed to get up in the 70s tomorrow, and then severe weather, and then guess what? It gets cold again. I'm Florida bound.
And now you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting ready to debut our new And the Weather Is segment from Wesley Outland.
Yeah, really, Larry McReynolds. What the hell kind of show is this here? How did we go from Juan Pablo
Super
Montoya
duper
and
double
Target
Doppler 9000
to tornadoes in
Wesley
North
Outland.
Carolina?
Talking about I know it was about
jet dryers.
credentials. No, let's talk about jet dryers. Hey,
They're extinct.
Now, if you want to talk about jet dryers seriously, they are debuting new drying technology in 2013.
That was one of the subjects that we were. I'm acting like he's right here in my computer screen, and I'm pointing at him. I'm literally pointing at the laptop, like saying, "Mike, this is what I was trying to say." So we will definitely hit on that subject. But we got to take a break. When we come back, Bob Parker's from the Sporting News. It is Marcus Morgan. It is Mike Neff. It's Kyle Taraska. I'm your host, Wesley Outland, and the winner is on ETV Live, powered by the HD Radio Network. And remember, tonight, 9:30, me and Michael Keaton, Dakota Ehrman's the call for the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series from Indy. Maybe it should be good. We'll be right back right after this break.
Sponsored by Bob Earl Racing, VRC Virtual Racing Chassis, Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series returns to ETV Live in 2013 every Monday night, 9:20 p.m. Eastern. A full 36-week season. Join Mike Keaton and Wesley Allen as they call the action from the booth, and Dakota Ehrman reporting from pit road. Strap in and buckle down, cowboy. 2013 Full Throttle Cup Series on Monday night is back in the saddle again. Flag-to-flag coverage provided by ETV Live, the only choice for your online racing broadcast entertainment. See us at etv-eplay.net. Thursday night's Asphalt Assault paves the way to ETV Live. If you watched Real Sim Racing League's Full Throttle Cup Series on ETV Live last season, you saw some of the best racing ever televised. Hang on to your seat, cowboy. We ain't done yet. Fill your coolers and park your butt. Real Sim Racing League comes to Thursday nights at 9:30 p.m. with another great series. Sponsored by Inside Sim Racing TV, Asphalt Assault Series features a nationwide car and some of the toughest racing you'll ever see. ETV Live, your online autosports entertainment network. See us at etv-eplay.net.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to And the Winner Is Motorsports Show, a broadcast of the ETV Live, powered by the HD Radio Network. Wesley Outland, Marcus Morgan, Mike Neff, Kyle Taraska, our esteemed four-panel racing guests tonight. And joining us as we talk about NASCAR and Gen 6 and what is now the new car of tomorrow, and what everybody says, it's putting the stock back in stock car. I don't believe it. But Bob Parker's from the Sporting News, one of our esteemed media guests, joins us. Bob, it's great to have you on the show tonight, buddy.
Great to be on, Wesley. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Aside the fact that Juan Pablo Montoya couldn't be on tonight, kind of upset about that, as I told you this afternoon.
Well, he's probably, if I was him, I'd be sleeping, man. A long 24 hours for him, right? A good win for him, a guy who probably needed something, a good memory of Daytona from what he experienced a year ago.
And the whole Ganassi team, too, for the couple years that they had ever since 11. So it was a good win for them.
So the official excuse is from the media guy, Bob Parker's the reason why Juan Pablo wasn't on the show, because he was up sleep apnea. So, Bob, let's talk about the Gen 6 car for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series as they get ready to roar down at Daytona. We'll see a sample of it in 2 weeks from Saturday at the new fan interactive Sprint Unlimited All-Star type of deal. But what's your thoughts of the testing package understand the fact that
My thoughts on the Gen 6 car, is that what you're asking?
yes.
I think it's obviously looks better. Obviously things could get much worse probably than the car of tomorrow as far as trying to have body features that kind of relate to passenger cars. So I think the car will look better. It has potential to race better, but it's going to be a work in progress. All new cars are works in progress, and I preach patience. I mean, Phoenix and Vegas are not typically the best races in the world, so if those races aren't great, I wouldn't condemn the car right away. I'd wait until at least Kansas and Texas, but it's going to look good even if it doesn't race good, and there's something to be said for that.
Mike Knapp.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Bob. We're talking to a lot with the crew chiefs this past week, and from the firewall forward, the underside of the car really didn't change, but the back end of it is definitely going to be different. You're not going to be allowed to yaw the cars out anymore, so you're not going to have them crabbing down the straightaways. They did give you the chance to put more camber in the rear end, so there's going to be a whole new geometry in the back of the car, and it's going to be a challenge for these teams to find things. But I think the one cool thing about it is all three manufacturers have a new car. And the way it usually works out in these deals is somebody's going to find something, like when Roush found the crabbing going down the straights, that's going to give a group an advantage. And you're going to have 3 to 5 weeks where that group's going to have an advantage and everybody else is going to be catching up, and then somebody else is going to find an advantage. And when it's all said and done, it's probably going to happen 2, maybe 3 times this year, that you're going to have one group, whether it's a manufacturer or a team or whatever, is going to hit on something that's going to give them that little edge. But it's going to be interesting to see just the overall evolution of the car this year. I'm looking forward to it.
Marcus, now, as a former NASCAR crew member, and I know Coach is a big guy. What is
I have to agree with Bob. Mike, I'm trying I don't know what we call the old car. That helped us get better racing back to the fans.
I think the COT was the POS. Read between the lines. Go ahead.
That may be true. That had this.
And Todd Tarasco, what's your thoughts on the so far that we didn't see?
Well, the Gen 6, they are putting the stock. I don't know. I mean, they are putting the stock back in stock car. Okay. NASCAR has not run a strictly stock race since 1966. Bob, you could check that for me. But I think it's accurate. They changed. Obviously, all right. So you're talking about 1966. It's 2012 or 13 now. The sport has grown and prospered since then. So obviously they were doing something right when only the bodies were stock. I mean, not even that the bodies are stock now, but with safety innovations and everything, and the way how street cars have just changed over time, it's not the 70s anymore where you got these big V8 hot rods going down the interstate. Okay, there are these little smart cars and Priuses and crap like that, and no one's going to show up to the race to see those. So I am 100% for what they are doing. Whenever the Gen 7 comes out, not that I want to get started on that, I'm sure that's going to be even better. But right now, this is putting the stock back in stock car, and it's the right. The sport is moving in the right direction.
Let's be honest. The whole purpose of this is to gather back the fans that have been slowly leaking out of the sport.
I think it's too little, too late. Bob,
It may very well be. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Bob Parker, do you believe they put the stock back in stock car? I just don't see it yet, fella.
Well, I mean, I think it's more. I mean, you keep, with all the safety devices and everything, you're not going to have an actual car that you're not going to just take your car from your garage and put it on the racetrack. So I think this is a good mix. And from what Mike was saying, I mean, they're going to be able to do more with weight distribution. They're not going to have a rear sway bar. The rear camber can be now 3.5 degrees instead of 1.8. I mean, there's a lot of changes they can do, and they'll actually drive probably more like real cars. So I think there'll be a lot more that you can that fans can relate to. But I mean, you're never going to have, the car just strictly off the showroom and onto the track anymore. The one thing that Mike was talking about one team possibly having an edge over another, there is a chance, because all the bodies are different, that one car could be better on the short tracks, another car could be better on the 1 mile tracks, and another car could be better on the 1.5 mile tracks. And so it'll be interesting to see whether one body style has an advantage at a certain type of racetrack.
Especially the Daytona, the aerodynamic advantage over different manufacturers. Interesting to see.
Yeah, we even saw that in the Grand Am race, the Rolex 24 this past week, and I think it was the Chevy and the Fords for the Daytona prototypes. They had to cut them down on power, and they didn't touch the BMWs. And you could just, both Ganassi, if McMurray didn't hit the wall in the wee hours of the morning, Ganassi would have finished 1-2 without a doubt, in my opinion. I mean, you just saw, once they got into the NASCAR portion of the track, the power was just unbelievable. And like what Bob was saying, I think you're going to see that once the season starts. Maybe not so much at Daytona, because with the restrictor plates, everything's kind of evened up anyway. But when you go to these 1.5 mile tracks, maybe when you go to the Michigans and Californias, that's going to turn into the real Jack Roush track again, like how it used to be in the late 90s. So there's a lot of unknowns, and someone's going to hit on something, and it's just a matter of if and when.
I'm going to prognosticate here, and I'm going to say that you're still going to see the top teams dominated Daytona because they got the most money spent on wind tunnel testing.
But at the same time, Daytona is such a crapshoot, especially with the new car and the new draft. I mean, look what happened with Junior and Ambrose during the test session, how they both, down the backstretch, they tried to tandem and they wrecked. So,
yeah, and that's where I was going to go with that, too, because Daytona is going to be a handling race like
the way it should be.
Before they repaved it.
Yes.
And, I'm seriously looking forward to it, because it's going to be a lot more about ability to drive in a draft than it has been for the last 5 or 6 years.
It's still going to.
I think it's going to feature some of these guys like Dale Earnhardt Jr., like Jamie McMurray, like Matt Kenseth. Kenseth doesn't get a lot of credit for his plate driving, but it's going to be these guys that are really savvy and good at driving in a draft with cars that don't handle well in a draft.
But Bob, what is the consensus then with the crews and teams down at Daytona during the test session? Are they happy with the car? Is it, they're not comfortable with the car? They need to make tweaks with the car? And also, what is the government of the sport saying? What is NASCAR saying about the car? I know Hilton was on the Rolex 24 on MRN at like 6 o'clock in the morning talking about the new Gen 6 car. But, what's everybody thinking of it?
Well, I think that I've never seen before at Daytona where you have a 12-car wreck and guys get out of the car and they're still happy with the package. That was kind of the amazing thing at testing, is that they got out of the car and they're like, you know what, we're just learning this package, but we like the package. There certainly was a feeling that, and you need. I'll say this, you have to take this wreck almost with a grain of salt, because nobody will ever blame Junior for anything. But I think there are some people who under their breath felt that you can still bump draft, but Junior was just a little bit too aggressive there, that Junior did not allow Marcus Ambrose to kind of collect the car when at first it got sideways. As far as the government, the quote-unquote government of NASCAR, they're happy with it. They'll probably try to take some of the credit by saying, yes, we meant for all these bumpers to not line up and be more difficult to two-car draft. But I think it more or less just kind of happened per the manufacturers wanting those bumpers to be curved.
But here's the thing, is the Gen 6 car, it's like what Kyle was talking about, Daytona, Talladega, it's always a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen there because the unknowns are unlikely to appear at any time. The guy in the front could be dominating the race, and then all hell breaks loose on the last lap, and the car's destroyed, and he's lost.
Well, let's talk a little bit about politics and how that influences what's going to happen going forward in 2013. If enough drivers complain about the way the bumpers line up, NASCAR will change it.
Well,
maybe not.
what I would like to say is though, where do we go from here? Obviously, I'm not Kyle. I'm not thinking about Daytona. I'm thinking about what's the Gen 6 car going to do at Bristol, at Martinsville, Richmond, your short tracks. How's it going to handle at Charlotte?
Well, you don't know. You got to wait and see. I mean, they could test all they want, but you'll never get the full effect of actually being in a full-blown 400 or 500, even at Charlotte, 600-mile race. It's just going to be a wait and see, just like when the COT was introduced in 2007 at Bristol, how when Kyle Busch wins and he says the car sucks, but eventually the teams worked on it, and then like how Bob said, how they caught, Roush found the crabbing with the cars, and then just one thing led to another. The car's going to evolve, but we don't know how the car's going to evolve. NASCAR may have an idea, the teams probably have an idea, but right now, as report, we don't know what's going to happen.
It's going to be wait and see.
And by the way, can I say this, Bob? How did that? You were down there covering that race at Bristol when Kyle Busch won, got out of the car and said, by the way, the car OT sucks whenever Dick Bergman interviewed him in Victory Lane on Fox. How did that hurt the integrity of the sport? Of a man of that caliber standing up and saying, this car is not, it's a piece of junk. And was that one reason why a lot of people took so much negativity on the car, because right out of the bat, he responded that way?
Well, I mean, I think there's certainly a feeling of that, although I in some ways maybe is that giving, I mean, are people really going to give that much credit to Kyle Busch that he could say one thing and then everybody will believe what Kyle Busch says? I mean, I think what it did do is it wasn't as much just what Kyle Busch said. It was the fact that everybody had been saying that all the way up to that point, that the car was ugly, they didn't like the wing, and it drove like a brick. And so I think, if Kyle Busch doesn't get out and say that, maybe there is a little bit more positive feeling towards the car, but I think overall that negative feeling would have been there no matter what.
Now, here's the question, Bob, because you're a very respected journalist. Again, Bob Pockrass from the Sporting News, NASCAR editor-writer, joining us on the program, along with Marcus Morgan, Mike Neff, Kyle Tereska, Wesley Outland, our esteemed guest panel. Again, Bob Pockrass is on the program. Big thanks to John Wesleyan in Indiana, J.D. Webb, and Phil Foltz in Ohio as well from HD Radio Network. J.D. Webb also tuning in and running the boards in California. And by the way, we even go off the air, J.D.'s going under the knife, very, very critical surgery he has to have done on Wednesday, and our thoughts and prayers will be with him and his entire family. Hope everything comes out okay on the end, Cowboy. That's what he likes to call everybody. But I'll tell you what, Bob, final question before we let you go, because I know you got some other commitments for tonight. But has NASCAR, we've heard it from Kyle, Marcus is ranting on his point, I don't think the stock is back in stock car. But as a respected journalist and seeing the car up close and being down at testing, do you think NASCAR's onto something with trying to put stocks back into stock car racing?
I mean, I think they are. I mean, again, especially looking at where they were, they're closer. I mean, they may not. They're never going to be all the way there, but it's closer, and it looks like it, and it doesn't need to be, I mean, in my opinion, it doesn't need to be exactly completely 100% stock car, but it needs to look like it, and it needs to act like it. And I think these cars will look more like it and act more like them than they have in the last 5 years.
No doubt about it. Before we go to commercial break, Kyle Tereska, what's your final question for Bob Pockrass from Sporting News?
Well, I should ask you a Gen 6 question, but I'm going to ask you probably the most important question because a small story here when I was in Dover this past September. I attended my first tweet up with you and Jeff Gluck, and I think that's when Jimmy Johnson's crew chief and Sam Hornish showed up. And I just want to know, not as a reporter but as a fan now, will there be tweet ups in 2013?
Yeah, there will be. We'll do. We should do them at most of the tracks. I would think we'll keep doing them. We try to do them on Sunday mornings at time when end up in that place where most fans can get there.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see you in Daytona. Marcus?
All right, see you there.
I'm looking forward to going back down to Rockingham or whatever race I'm at with Mike Neff, where you guys have the tweet for us to battle who's going to post the results the quickest or who's going to tweet text on through.
Matter tweeting out when inspection has cleared.
I remember down there at Rockingham after the truck race, we're in the media center, and Mike's like, damn it, he beat me. And I said, what are you thinking about? And we all have a competition amongst us media guys of who's going to get out first, who passed through tech, and normally Bob Packris.
Packris is the king of inspection is cleared.
Then you got voice text.
Yeah, but there aren't usually a lot of people around, so it's kind of easy.
Yeah, by that time, most of them have already headed home.
Yeah, so...
I guess if I had one question for Bob, mine would be just the fact that NASCAR in the media tour luncheon, press, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm as critical as anybody is of NASCAR, but it honestly seemed like they are legitimately becoming more proactive rather than reactive. Were you getting that same sense based on Brian and Mike's 20 minutes or so with us?
A little bit. I mean, I think I think obviously the track drawing thing it's somewhat of reactive, but at least they're looking at other ends of things. I think the whole chain in these cars is reactive to kind of what they've done the last 5 years. I don't think they're very proactive in as far as concussions and their willingness to do any sort of baseline testing or changing of their procedures, even despite the Dale Earnhardt Jr. situation. But I think what they are doing is that they're more open-minded. They're looking at other ways to do things. Obviously some talk about the Eldora racing and the rules and heat races and how they're going to work that. And so I'd say that they've opened up their minds a little bit to other ideas. To instead of just saying no, they're saying, well, let's see how we can do that and see if we can make that work.
Hey, I've got a question. What is your thoughts of NASCAR going back to dirt at Eldora?
Well, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I mean, I hope it turns out well. I'm a little bit concerned that'll be a lot like Montreal in the rain, where it'll be really cool for 15 or 20 minutes, and then you'll be like, what in the world are we doing here? Or what in the world are we doing this? I think that, if I go to Eldora, and I even said this about the Prelude, I'd rather watch the Dream. I'd rather watch the people who know how to race on those tracks because I think they put on the best show. But that being said, again, I appreciate that they're looking outside the box. I mean, I hope it'll be a success the first year. The challenge will be a success fan-wise, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. But, I mean, so it's one of those mixed feeling things. Part of me, some people talk about going back to their roots. I'd say, well, if you're going to go back to your roots, make sure to get the Greenville Pickens on there. Make sure to go back to IRP, go back to Milwaukee. I mean, to me, those would be, if I was in charge, those would be the routes I'd be trying to build because it's a development series for asphalt racing. But I do, I'm not going to say that this is a horrible decision and that it can't work either. I'll take more wait and see attitude toward that.
Definitely. Bob, buddy, man, thank you so much for being on the program. We appreciate you. I know you got some other things going on tonight. We've got about 10 minutes left to go on the show. But definitely, dude, great job as always covering NASCAR, and looking forward to always reading those great articles you put out on the Sporting News for 2013 Sprint Cup Series. And Marcus, what have you got final thing for Bob? Let him go.
Yeah, just one question, Bob, on this Gen 6 change and how that's going to affect the opposite NASCAR 2013. I know the fans back to back. That's the question.
I had trouble hearing that. Did anybody pick that up?
He was asking about the Gen 6 car and how is that? Is it going to economically fix the economy of our sport for NASCAR?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's obviously good in the sense that the manufacturers will like it, and that could increase manufacturer involvement or at least keep manufacturer involvement around. And it's not only is Chevrolet doing this new SS car for the Cup Series, they're actually debuting the production car, passenger car at the racetrack at Daytona in a few weeks. So, you know, it's good. It's good for the health of the sport as far as getting manufacturers involved, getting them to be able to kind of showcase their products, creating some energy in their offices in Detroit. But, you know, I mean, I don't think it's going to solve all the economic problems. I think what it does do is prevent you know, any sort of idea of any of the current manufacturers from possibly getting out, and hopefully it'll attract another manufacturer to come in the near future.
Definitely. Well, Bob, man, thank you so much for being on the program tonight. We appreciate you, and have a great time covering the NASCAR races this year. And I'm pretty certain we'll have you back on here again. As we had him on 3 or 4 times last year. Appreciate you being on this evening.
Thanks, Bob.
Hey, thanks, Wes.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. That's, again, Bob Pockers from the Sporting News, and he does the NASCAR editing and writing for the show. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will wrap up the show, talking about NASCAR, talking about the new jet dryer system, talking about the idea of Joey Chitwood, the third possibility of bringing in over 250,000 seats at the World Center of Racing, and his intentions of having almost 500,000 people at the Daytona 500 by next year, 2016. Definitely going to be something to talk about. The jet dryer also, we got Bob hit on that as well. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go back to the discussion, the panel. It's Marcus Morgan, Kyle Taraska, Mike Neff. I'm Wesley Outland. It's the January 28th edition of AndTheWinnerIS Motorsports Show on ETV Live, powered by the HD Radio Network. We'll be right back right after.
ETV Live, always pushing the bar just a little bit further, is proud to introduce ETV Live Radio, supported by the HD Radio Network. ETV Live Radio features classic rock every hour, every day. You can also catch live events such as Race Day broadcast right from the booth, Open Paddock Live at 9:30 p.m. Tuesday nights, The Pit Report on Friday nights at 7 p.m. ETV Live Radio featured in the sports section of iTunes. Get the mobile app from TuneIn.com and look for us on Windows Media Guide. ETV Live Radio on the HD Radio Network.
Shortway Real Estate Incorporated, conveniently located off of intersection I-81 and I-77 in Withville, Virginia. Services all of Southwest Virginia in residential, farms, recreational, and commercial properties. The company is owned by Jason and Judy Short. Judy has been in the real estate market for over 15 years and is the broker of Shortway Real Estate. And they have 2 of the top agents in Southwest Virginia. Their goal is simple: to provide the best customer service and build business on repeat clients. You can get pre-approvals in less than 20 minutes. They have many properties located on over 300 websites nationwide. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for customer service guaranteed. And guess what? Licensed in Virginia, they can show you any property listed in the Commonwealth state. They're located at 1205 East Main Street in Withville, Virginia. For more details, call 276-223-4018. That's 276-223-4018. Shortway Real Estate Incorporated, reminding you, take the short way home.
Welcome back, everybody, to the January 28th edition of AndTheWinnerIS Motorsports Show. Wesley Outland, the ringmaster of motorsports, back here with you. The madman Marcus Morgan's in the house.
Arr.
And also joining us is the racing devil Mike Neff. What would a nickname for Kyle Taraska? What would his be?
I don't know. I don't have any kind of nicknames or evil laughs or anything like that. Oh my! I just show up. I talk. People, I don't know why, but they choose to listen to me, and then I go back on my little either Arcus Sim Racing or iRacing, and I go in circles for the rest of the evening.
Absolutely.
Atasca, he's Kyle Taraska.
Atasca, it's Kyle Taraska. I like that.
Lower start. We'll get something better than that.
Oh my!
Took us like a week for us to figure out the nickname for Marcus.
So anyway, track drying.
Track drying.
Since we got 10 minutes to talk, NASCAR is going to be introducing a new system that is going to use heat and compressed air, no more jet fuel, to dry tracks. The goal when they set it out was reduce track drying by 80%. They claim that Daytona International Speedway, after a torrential downpour, can be dry in 30 minutes.
I don't believe that.
Near do I.
I don't believe.
I think it'll be under an hour, but
Yes.
I don't think it'll be 30
It'll
minutes.
be, I think, like that 45 to 50 minute range.
I want to throw something out there, and of course, one thing I want to throw out there is Marcus Morgan has now got a program that works in doing track drying and cleaning efforts with lightning fast. Marcus, do you even see any possibility way that they can have a track dried in 30 minutes with the type of equipment that they? It took them 5 damn hours to clean the track whenever Juan Pablo hit the jet dryer.
It will be most interesting to see this new technology that they're going to be introducing. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious about it. I mean, I've always maintained that, and my little idea was to get one of those street sweeper type deals that they use, especially when they go up and down pit lane to suck up all the excess water,
right?
And put a jet dryer behind it, so that you would have that go pick up the excess amount of water, and then a jet dryer would just do the finishing touch to dry it off.
Okay. But Kyle, I mean, is there any way feasibly possible that they can create something? And I will say this much, from what we heard with Mike Helton on the Rolex 24 broadcast, he didn't really want to give out a lot of details about it. All he just simply said was, this is really going to be something that's going to take our sport to the next level, where if there is a rain delay, we can get these guys out there on the racetrack. They can hustle. We don't. And another thing that was used, they didn't have to use so much equipment and manpower to get the job done.
Well, first off, I just want to say this is going to be huge for the sport, and I know they keep saying, oh, well, it's good for the TV, and because they don't have to BS about absolutely nothing for 3 hours, but it's very good for the fans. Living up here in the Northeast, Pocono, I go there twice a year, and it rains there just about every year up in the mountains with that wacky weather. And I was at that race where, unfortunately, where Gordon won, and where the fan got struck by lightning, which I don't blame the track for that or NASCAR or anybody. I was just a freak deal. But that's another story. This is going to be huge. I don't see them drying the track at 2.5 miles like that in 30 minutes. I could see a track like Dover or Bristol being high banked in concrete. That could be done in 30 minutes or less. I could see. I could definitely see under an hour. But I mean, they haven't even released any pictures of, from my understanding, of what these look like. All I know is that they're pickup trucks with a bunch of tubes hanging out of the back. And I guess I mean, I'm not a physician or anything. Like, I don't know how this is all going to work, but from my understanding, it's going to pick up the water and dry the track at the same time, instead of just, with the jet dryers, they just use heat to move the water off to the side. So I imagine it's going to be faster. I mean, obviously, if they're saying that, but it can't get any worse. And I mean, if you look back, even like in the 70s, when they would have race fans. Like, I know my dad, him and my grandfather used to go to Trenton Speedway in New Jersey, which isn't even there anymore. And they went there for an IndyCar race one year, and they had the fans drive out into the track and just drive around just to get the track dried. So we've come a far cry from that. So this is just the next step. I'm sure they could do even better than what they're doing now. But in the end, it's a huge positive for NASCAR.
I've been one of those guys that have been on a racetrack drying a track before, just because they don't have the manpower, or they do not have the pace vehicles, or you're worried about running out of gas because the pace car is too nice and they want to save it for the feature races. So, yes, I understand 100% where they're coming from on that. But, Marcus, you know, is it because that maybe this creation's been done because they're trying to catch up with the times? But so many things that are being created, you know, is that one reason why they maybe didn't unveil it, because they're waiting for the opportunity for it to happen, and then bam, let's get the guys out there and go to work? I'm thinking they would want to do some R&D, but there's not been any research or development done on it.
It's going to.
Oh, I guarantee there's been R&D done on it. They just haven't done it like on an actual track in front of a crowd.
Right.
Yeah,
but I guarantee they've been at some place, whether it's been a racetrack or just on a city street, after rain to try this thing out, because I promise you they've put in a ton of development time on
Well,
it.
let me tell you one thing. Like I'm sure, like you said, they put a lot of development in, but no one has seen the development. There's been no reports to the development or anything like that. The only reports we have is what they've been telling us at the media center, that it's going to dry the tracks 80% quicker, and they're going to have, I believe, 24 of these new vehicles about in
And see,
Daytona
that's
for
where I
speed weeks.
think they're getting it just by sheer volume. I mean, because the way I understand it, this thing takes like a canister, little wheelbarrow type air compressor. It's not like it takes some giant machine. So they get this thing for $150, $200, slap it onto these pipes, and they go. So they can have 24 of them go around the track as opposed to, 5 jet dryers at Daytona.
But they are.
So I think just a pure volume of drying vehicles is going to make it happen faster as well.
I think one of the key things, too, to think about is the jet dryers always put out a little bit of the fuel.
Yes, there's always some residue on the track afterwards
with those jet dryers.
Well, and they're saying also that it's to work on the manpower. They don't have to have so many people out there on the racetracks. They don't have to have so many jet dryers out there. They're saying that they're spending tons and tons of money on diesel fuel and the special type of fuel that they use to keep these trucks going, not counting also those propane jet-powered blowers that take a different type of fuel, which costs more money. They're trying to find out an economically feasible way of doing it. Now, I can tell you that what he did disclose on the MRN feed with the Rolex 24 was that it was a type of jet dryer that blows in cool air, and it's not using it's using turbine power. It's a solar energy type jet dryer, but it's not going to use a lot of money, but it puts out 10 times more heat than what one of those jet-powered motor dryers
Well,
would do.
here's all I have to say. Since nobody has seen how this is to work, and it's going to be debuted on national television, it has a larger,
if they have a rain delay.
It has a larger propensity of failure in that case.
Yes, it better work. That's pretty much. The NASCAR put
I don't
themselves
think-
in a small box.
I don't picture them letting it fail. I don't think they're going to roll it out unless they're confident it's going to work.
Well, let's say this. I hate to remind everybody, but it took Tide to fix the racetrack after Juan Pablo crashed into the jet dryer at Daytona. The most unlikely thing you would have never thought of, and that's what they used.
Wesley, let's be honest. You know someone who's already created the technology to solve the problem, and it's already been tested, and the problem is politics, okay? So let them experiment all they want to.
Absolutely. Definitely. Hey, guys, we got about 3 minutes left to go on the show before we have to wrap it up. Final topic I want to talk about, the opportunity. This is the idea. Joey Chitwood III, president of Daytona International Speedway, is doing an entire re-innovation of the racetrack after the the Coke Zero 400 in July. And their intentions, Kyle Taraska, is to put 250,000 seats on the front straightaway, not counting the seats they've already got, not counting the ones on the back. Then there was talks about them taking the seats out on the back straightaway and using them for just Daytona. But their goal by 2015 or even 2014 is to have 500,000 people at the Daytona 500. Final topic of the night before we go off the air. Do you think it can happen, and will it work?
Never going to happen.
Well, I think I was so stunned by this. I actually called in on Trade and Paint with SiriusXM with Rick Benjamin and Chocolate Myers today, and I asked them on the air about it.
Yes.
And and they explained it well. The folks in Daytona, Joey Chitwood, they're smart. They're not going to do anything that they can't do. Because my main thing was, you get 250,000 seats there, and if you have your Daytona 500, the Super Bowl of racing, and there's like visible empty seats there, that's going to look horrible for the sport.
They can't sell all the seats on the backstretch now.
For the 400, yeah.
For the
500.
500.
Well, it's
last
not
year,
to
if
the
you
point
looked
where
at
it's
the
not
500,
visible.
there were whole sections of the backstretch wide open.
Why
would
granted,
you
the race,
build more seats?
Well, the race was Monday night too, but
even before it started on Sunday, there were massive sections of empty seats. I have no clue where they think these other 200,000-300,000 people are going to freaking mystically show
I'll tell
up.
you what they got to do. Their tower seats are fine. They're probably the best seats that I've ever sat in my life. And pros, you don't go ahead.
No, real quickly, just wrap it up. I got less than 45 seconds. Just Go ahead. Throw out a 5-second topic of me.
Okay. Real quick, the tower seats, the checkered flag painted seats, they're fine. The seats on the short chutes on this front straightaway, they're 50 years old. They got to renovate them. Done.
F.
They're never going to have that many people want to come down for the race. It's just a waste of money.
Marcus Morgan.
I think the days of those big numbers of fans are gone.
I believe so, too. I think they're out of their mind. They really need to do something about it, and we really need to do something now because we've already come to the end of an hour. It flew by so fast. Thank you so much to everybody. Kyle Taraska, Mike Neff, Marcus Morgan. I'm Wesley Outley, and thank you to Bob Parkers for being on, and even Juan Pablo who didn't show up. We appreciate all y'all. We'll do it again next Monday night, and the Winner Is Motorsports Show will be on for 2 hours on ETV Live Radio, powered by the HD Radio Network. Good night. God bless.